Well, hi, welcome back to the Blind Zone, and today we're going to be talking about mixed messages. So, in the picture, there's a pair of white socks and black dress shoes. Well, obviously, that's a mixed message. What are they going to do? Jog in their dress shoes? Because they're not going somewhere, because they don't even have pants on. So, I thought about that in view of what mixed messages I'm sending, not to the world, but just to myself. So I thought of three things in specific that I can, tell you about the mixed message. The first one was a couple weeks ago, I had ordered a mini trampoline. And so that was great. So I got it, I assembled it, I put it up. And then a couple days ago, I found myself laying in bed watching YouTube videos of people actually using their mini trampoline. And I thought, it doesn't help you at all, Denise, to watch these other people do this. You have to use this piece of equipment too. So I had to decide why keep ordering and buying equipment and not actually using it. And near the end, I'll relay all my exercise equipment faux pas that, I bought it, never used it, bought it, never used it, bought it, used it a little, gave it away. So the mini trampoline is the first thing that I was sending a mixed message on. The second thing was I'm a terrible cook. I'm a lousy cook. And my son came over, and he's a very good cook. And my son brought over a bowl of split pea soup. It was delicious. It's probably the best split pea soup I ever had. And I said, "What's the secret?" And he said, "Secret, I followed a recipe." And I'm like, oh, that's the problem. I've never followed a recipe in my life. And it's not because I know all that there is to know in the kitchen. I do not. I think I'm just too proud and too arrogant to bother with somebody else's frivolous directions. So in the proof of the pudding is I had invited my family over for Christmas Eve breakfast, and I said, I'll cook. So the meal turned out to be a disaster. The bacon was undercooked and it was greasy, and the egg bake that I had planned was horrible. Well, for one, I'm sure it would have been great if I'd have followed the recipe, but I decided to change it. I decided, well, I really didn't want the meat in that since I was serving bacon, so I took that out. And I didn't really want to use the bread they suggested, so I got some frozen garlic toast and replaced that. And then 6 eggs didn't seem like enough, so I added 10. Well, if it called for half a cup of milk, I think a cup would have been better. So as you can tell, I drastically changed all the ingredients, the amounts. But what I did do was I kept their original cooking time. It was way undercooked. It was horrible. So after my family left and I felt like a complete reject in the kitchen again, I put it all back in a different pan and I rebaked it and baked it for another 45 minutes, and then it turned out fine. And in fact, I would probably use this recipe again, but I would change the chimes and I would just have to admit that it's just my own pride and arrogance that doesn't allow me to do something simple like following a recipe. Very frustrating. So anyway, and the other thing is I am the queen of the shortcuts. It may take me 10 times as long, but I am the queen of the shortcuts. So in the kitchen, that's a disaster. I just do it my way, and it always turns out poorly. Anyway, my third mixed message example is I was texting with my sister after the first of the year, and I asked her what it is she wanted for 2023. And she said, well, she had 3 things spotlighted, and we don't really do, where we're going to pledge to do this or that, because that never lasts very long anyway. But I told her there was 3 things that I was looking to do in this coming year. And I said the first was that I wanted my faith roots to grow deeper. The second one was I wanted my faith tree to branch out higher. So I started to think about that, and I found a book called Growing Deeper in Your Faith by Jeff Bridges. And I thought, I don't think that's his actual name, so sorry about that. Anyway, not the real point, I guess. So I got the book, and I didn't really start reading it because I looked at it. I was like, oh, this is really going to be heavy duty. Because I like to read a book, start a book, end a book, beginning, middle, and end the book, and you're done. But this required concentration, and it required me to think, and it required me to process, and I wasn't up for that. So I thought about those 3 examples with me buying the trampoline but not using it to its potential, me not using a recipe so that I could end up with a good product, and me wanting to do something better with my spiritual side, and then not having the follow through to just crack the book open. So in those 3 things, I thought about them in their totality. And one of the things that really struck me is in all of my small groups, I say the same thing to all of them. I say, get out a piece of paper, fold it in half, and on the left side of the page, write Satan at the top. On the right side, write God. On the left side, write flesh, and on the right side, write spirit. On the left side, you say to yourself, now what does Satan and your flesh want? Then write to kill, steal, and destroy. Then go back to the right side and ask yourself, what does God and the Spirit want for you? And they want to give you life and give it to you in abundance. So in the 3 examples, what would Satan have to benefit if I never get on the trampoline? Well, he would slowly get to kill, steal, and destroy me because I'll get weaker. I won't be able to live with any good muscle, building up muscle and things like that. So I just, weaken to a point, because at some point there's a tipping point to all of this, exercise or eating or whatever. After you cross a line, sometimes there's just no going back. So if I don't start now, I may not be able to make up the ground I'm losing. So then I thought in the second example of my food choices and my arrogance in the kitchen, and what does Satan want there? Well, he wants me to minimalize things. He wants me to make crappy meals so that I'll just stop. I won't even want to try to eat well. I'll just whatever and just throw it together and just eat it. So, but that's not what the Spirit wants. The Spirit wants me to enjoy the food, but if it requires me to do a little work and prep and make it better, then that's the plan I should take. And then with the Spirit side, my flesh says, just fill your head full of books. It's not going to make a difference. But it will, because eternally, some of those books, now they're not bad books, and you can't only read spiritual stuff because you'll be a crazy person, because then you'll just consume so much that you won't even be able to really take a breath, because even if you can't use as much as you eat, because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to use what you eat, but you don't need to overeat like at a buffet. So on the spiritual side, I have to balance that out and read the eternally good books that will help me. But I need to allow myself to eat them in moderation, like 1 chapter a day or whatever it is, so that whatever I'm taking in, I can actually use. Now, at the end of last year, I finished reading my Bible in a year, 1 year through the Bible, or, I have a couple different versions of that. And I thought about that process, and I've been doing that for at least the last 10 years. And I'm not telling you that as a source of pride, like pat myself on the back, but I'm telling you that because I've done that for so long, I have built that into my discipline routine, and I couldn't even imagine not continuing to do that. This year I found a different version of it, because after a while, you kind of, the other way gets monotonous. Now last year I did the chronological version, and that was fun, but, and again, when you're looking at the Bible chronologically, then you see how many times things are important because it comes up over and over and over. But I'm stepping away from my original point of mixed messages, so I'm sorry about that. So again, I thought about the mixed messages that I was sending myself in the way of I wanted my body stronger, but I couldn't get on the trampoline. I wanted to eat better, but I couldn't possibly think to follow a recipe so that could happen. And I wanted to grow my faith roots deeper, but the book that I bought to accomplish that, I just couldn't get myself to open. So for this year, what I'm really going to focus on isn't some big resolution or revelation, but it's going to be where I critique and scrutinize the things that I'm sending mixed messages about, and I'm seeing who's whispering in my ear. Is it the flesh or is it the spirit? Because if it's the flesh, he'll just want to kill, steal, and destroy. But if it's the spirit, he's going to want that for God's glory and my good, and that's a good path to follow. So are there mixed messages you're sending yourself that maybe you need to think about? And again, the blind zone is about things that overtake us that we never saw coming, or things that we refuse to see that were right in front of our face. But this is a grace space, a safe space, and I'm not poking at anybody. I'm just showing you the flies in my ointment, so to speak. And we're in three big areas. I really let the flesh do too much talking. So I hope I've fixed and resolved that for myself. But the exercise equipment, that's kind of funny too, because a few months ago I just gave away the elliptical that I had to have but never used. And then before that, I bought another treadmill because I had given away the first one. And then I had a Nordic Track, which I gave away. And then I had a Stairmaster, which I gave away. So I've had a lot of experience. In fact, I bought 2 sets of weights and gave them away. So I've had a lot of experience with the exercise equipment, and I hope to do better. And again, recognizing that the flesh would like me to sit on the couch and become lumpier, I'm going to get up and actually use the thing. So again, thanks for following along today on The Blind Zone. And next time, I'm going to be interviewing a friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about surprises. And I like surprises. No, I do not like surprises. So what we have to share with you will be a surprise. Again, thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next week.